Martin Luther King inspired a nation with his dream from the mountaintop in August 1963. The Civil Rights Movement, led by King, the SCLC, SNCC, offered hope and opportunity for African Americans. The federal government responded by passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, prohibiting discrimination in public facilities, government, employment, and voting that had been reducing African Americans to second-class citizens in American life. These acts were not enough to calm an anxious nation. Race riots in Watts in 65, Newark, Detroit, Minneapolis in 67, Louisville, New York, and Chicago in 68 indicated that northern urban areas still demanded greater racial attention from the federal government. From 1966 to 1970, the Black Panther Party assumed leadership of the black community, eschewing the peaceful nonviolence of the King years and embracing a militant black power movement. In 1963, Betty Friedan also emerged as a national civil rights leader. Friedan's feminine mystique exposed the unspoken oppression of the modern American housewife. Friedan wrote that the feminine mystique has succeeded in burying millions of women alive. Friedan gave voice to the American women by asking, "Is this all there is?" By combining politics, economics, psychology, marriage, and, yes, sex, Friedan redefined the feminist movement, and in 1966 established the National Organization for Women, which would lead the movement for the remainder of the 20th century. The movement was joined by more radical women, such as Shulamith Firestone, whose book The Dialectic of Sex focuses more specifically on the gender inequality and biological disadvantages imposed by pregnancy. Groups like the New York Radical Feminists, Red Stocking, and Cell 16 all explored alternative lifestyle patterns that would free women from the domination of men. So, like the African Americans, the women's movement started with inspiring rhetoric and superior organization, and then turned more radical as the decade progressed. As Brown v. Board signaled judicial support for the rights and equality of African Americans, so too Roe v. Wade decision in 1973 signaled judicial support for female Americans. However, in many ways, the Roe decision had a stifling effect on the burgeoning women's movement. Basically, after 1973, the women's movement became about abortion, and as such, it lost support. In 1972, Alice Paul, legendary suffragette, Gloria Steinem, Martha Griffiths, and a host of other women advocates skillfully negotiated the Equal Rights Amendment through both houses of Congress. President Richard Nixon even supported the passage of the constitutional amendment. The ERA needed 38 states to ratify the amendment, and in 1972 and 73, 31 states quickly ratified the ERA. However, after 1973, only 4 additional states would ratify, leaving the ERA 3 states shy of amending the Constitution for the 28th time. In 1980, Republican Party changed its platform to qualify its support for the ERA, and conservative Phyllis Schlafly mounted an effective Stop the ERA campaign, uniting Catholics, Jews, and conservative women to her cause. Effectively, Phyllis Schlafly and the Republican Party eliminated the opportunity for the passage of the ERA. A new generation of historians will judge the successes and failures of the women's movement from 1963 into the 21st century. From Betty Friedan and the National Organization of Women, to Roe v. Wade, to the failure of the ERA, to the election of 2008, to the success of women in modern America. While on the legislative level it may have failed, on many personal levels the women's movement seems to have succeeded. Whether as a result of strong organization, the support of federal law, judicial support, or through the sheer perseverance of strong women, the role of women in American society has dramatically changed.